Hi everyone, it's Bonnie from the museum. Today I'm out in the field discovering the secrets hidden within a shearing shed out at Bannerumbar. Years ago, this shed was part of Carmel, a sheep station belonging to Griffith medical practitioner turned grazier, Dr. Solomon Goldberg. Dr. Goldberg devised an extraordinary plan that would ultimately make history. He was going to export Corriedale sheep from his property here all the way to Israel. There, he would reignite the Israeli wool production industry and provide meat to a swelling population due to post-war migration. Now, a venture this big would of course require significant financial support, which was to come from a reported Los Angeles multimillionaire who reportedly rang his bankers after a meeting with Dr. Goldberg and said, "I've got a crazy guy here from Australia who wants to do something big. I'm crazy too. I'm going in with him." In his initial trial in 1953, 119 sheep were transported to his Israel property about 10 kilometres east of Gaza, in the largest airlift of stock in history. After the success, Dr. Goldberg turned his attention to a larger scale operation, transporting over 1,500 Corriedales to Israel via ship in 1954. A crew of workers from the station escorted the ovine cargo on their sea journey, one of which was a young 16-year-old by the name of Noel Townsend, who celebrated his 17th birthday over in Israel. The crew said goodbye to their families, ready to embark on a voyage upon what was jokingly referred to as Sol's Ark, or the icebreaker vessel, the Thala Dan. The 1,514 sheep were kept in 3 holes below deck. The crew battled seasickness and had the tough job at hand to keep the sheep fed, watered and well. The crew described cleaning the holding pens as a bugger of a job, filling bags and sacks with the manure and tipping it overboard. On the 30th of April, they docked at Eilat, the first passengers to disembark at the port. Israel would hold many new experiences for the young farmhands, many positive, some dangerous. At one stage, Noel and another worker were arrested by authorities for not having a proof of identity, and Noel spent many hours shepherding sheep with a firearm for protection. This station and shearing shed holds the origins of this wild adventure. Here, Noel began working at Carmel, keeping a tally of the sheep he sheared here on the wall.
Many years ago, Claude Anderson got the job as the manager of Carmel. He came from Hillston, and Claude's wife was my mother's sister. So I left school working on the farm. It was a very happy time in life. Christmas time, 1958, I think Claude said, "No, we're going to Israel in April." Meant nothing at the time. And we just worked then with the sheep, and eventually all the chaps who were going to Israel come along. Edgar Moore and Mr. Bill Alpin and Ken Alpin carted the feed and the sheep into the Griffith trucking yards. There was 1,514 sheep. They were Corriedales and Dorsets. On the 28th of March 1958, we left Griffith at 9 o'clock in the morning. In this photo here, there was a photo of all the families. They were all at the Griffith railway station to see us off. It was hard to describe how you feel. And this photo here was taken to the Griffith railway station. Jeff Smith, Claude Anderson, Fred Gascoigne, Abraham, he was working his way back to Israel, and Tom McCormick at the back, Cole Woodbridge, Harold Anderson and myself. We travelled all night on the train, arriving in Sydney, and I thought, wow, are we really going to go on this? And it wasn't until we woke up on the 1st of April and we're at sea. That's when I really realised that all this was happening. Didn't have a clue because I'd never been any further than Griffith in my life. The sheep were down under the boat. Because of the temperature and the ammonia, we had to shovel the manure into a 5-gallon bucket and pull it up through a little pop hole and tip it overboard. On the boat we had 5 dogs, 1 kangaroo, 5 cockatoos, 2 emus, 7 sheepdogs, a wallaby, a wombat. They were going to the Tel Aviv and Israeli Zoo. People laughed when we got to Israel, didn't know what was happening. So we went up the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aqaba to a place called Eilat. It was just like a pontoon you'd expect to Lake Langan in Griffith. And it turns out we're the first passengers to ever land there in 1958. Coming from Griffith in New South Wales as a 16-year-old, I was expecting stock trace to turn up. upturned 15 tip trucks. Because over in Israel there's no sheep. And you couldn't imagine that we loaded 1,500 sheep into 15 tippers. And it was a 12-hour drive. We left at 2 o'clock in the morning, and the sheep were there for 12 hours. And during the night travel, they put a person in the back of each tipper. I was in the back of one tipper. Unbelievable. At night time on the property, we were 12 miles from the Gaza Strip, which is a very intense place today. And they said to me, if you hear gunfire, it was a very dangerous place to be. They said, no, I'll go straight to ground. This photo here is Dr. Goldberg's homestead in Israel, and that spotlight went around all night, and up the top there's a machine gun, because the people used to come in from Gaza and try and get the sheep because they want to eat them. We were, of course, the first passengers ever land there. There's no immigrations, so our passport and all our clothing had to go to Haifa. Anyway, in came a policeman. They all carried rifles, and he couldn't speak to Cole, and vice versa, and we were arrested as Yemen spies. We were only there a short time before they worked out who we were, and they let us go. Very scary at that age. And that was my 17th birthday in Tel Aviv, 12th of June 1958. There's myself on the left, Cole Woodbridge and Harold Anderson, and they said, no, I think you better have a beer. I'll tell you, it didn't taste nice. And that was my 17th birthday, great memories. We were away for 3 months all up. We were a month at sea, and we spent 2 months in Israel. We were lucky enough we swam in the Dead Sea. Yeah, incredible. And went to Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Bethlehem, and I'm the last one left. All the others have passed on over the years, yeah. That's the sad part. And to be out here today at Carmel again, sorry, just the memories of to go back when you're that age and done something so special to see Carmel, and nothing stays the same, but the memories do. They never change. Sorry.
What would you say to them all if you saw them all today?
Can we do it again? He's a thorough gentleman, Dr. Goldberg, and to come out to Australia at a 2-year-old from Israel and to own his own hospital in Griffith and a property as big as Carmel, and to take sheep back over there to help his country people, what he'd done was just incredible.
This story truly has it all. A crazy idea, a history-making feat, adventure, danger, a big rich LA investor. A tale of little Griffith taking its place on the world stage, of a young man taking a leap of faith.